Hello there, this is Ron Wills coming back at you again with yet another video. Today I wanna jump on something, and I've heard the first video about this from the master teacher Black Gnostic Speaks, and he was talking about should educated lames and nerds abandon the black community, and I believe it was in response to another thing, and I know my brother Obsidian. He also touched on this subject. So I want to give my 2 cents on not so much whether they should abandon the black community, because as you'll see in my argument, they don't have to abandon the black community, rather where to go from here. Now, to set up my argument why I would say educated lames and nerds don't need to think in terms of abandoning the black community, but rather of going forward. Now, let me share some stuff that I've observed over the years. One thing to keep in mind is that I think a general thing that everyone does is lump the African American community into one big pile, into one big group, monolithic group. But if you were to look at African America, the black American community, I would say, I've said and I've written this, there are four black Americas. And other writers have come up with similar things. They recognize the divisions too. But there's four black Americas. And then if you break down each one of those black Americas, there's several subcultures in each. Now, just real quick, because I know somebody's going to be curious, but I'm not going to spend like a whole bunch of time on this. The four black Americas that I identify is one is what I call upper class black America, and that's like that quote unquote black elite, the kind talked about in Lawrence Otis Graham's book Our Kind of People. That's that old black money, and for the most part though, they stay to themselves. That's why I kind of separate them. You really don't hear about them, except only time you hear anything about them is when people talk about the boule, you know, or like some, the upper echelons of black fraternities and stuff. But they're in their own world, got their own modes of doing things. The second black America is what I call mainstream black America. And that's the one everybody, that's where everybody's basically doing their thing. Basically hardworking people. The main religion in mainstream black America is the black church. In fact, you would say that's the dominant feature. Even if someone doesn't go to, a Christian church, people kind of going around that. And then there's underclass black America. That's the one we see too much of on TV. Ironically, it's probably one of the, if not the smallest, like the second smallest black American grouping, but yet it's the one that gets the most attention. That's the one you got, whole video networks dedicated to, and unfortunately, too many people think that represents it. But when I talk about underclass Black America, that's that like, basically black trash America. That's that type, people engaged in like criminal and deviant activity as a way of life. We talking like welfare fraud, shoplifting as a business, carjacking, just they just living that criminal lifestyle. And but it's very small. It's more about survival. Even if somebody's working a regular job, it's more about survival. And it's also, underscored by poverty. Most people there are not going to come out. And then there's what I call alternative Black America. And the major difference between the alternatives and the other three is indeed religion. The other dominant religion in the other ones, even in underclass Black America, is Christianity, while in alternative Black America, the religions will tend to be like the black versions of Islam, um, comedic paths, or what people derisively call the hoteps, and maybe even strands of traditional African religion. Also, schools of thought such as Pan Africanism, Afrocentrism, Black nationalism are in there. And basically, it's a totally different vibe. Now, I might do a video where I go deeper into it, but my point is this: getting back to the so-called educated lames and nerds. I don't. It's not necessary to leave the black community. One, because despite what people think, there's hundreds of subcultures within the black community. A lot of these subcultures are religious based. Some of them are tiny, some of them quite large. It could be music based, regional based, whatever. What what I propose to the men who call themselves educated, who consider themselves educated lames, or they consider themselves square nerds, or a term I don't like, beta males. Yeah, and I'm not even going to use that. I don't even like that term. Um, Whatever the case, basically outliers. Maybe basically men who might not fit into the exactly into the other groups, especially mainstream Black America, or definitely not the underclass, and might not have the right pedigree for upper class, and judging by how many people are derisive of so-called hoteps, probably not there either. My thing is this: what has to be done is the active creation of a culture, and that culture can be created by the I don't like the term educated lames and nerds. I used it for the title. I'm gonna say thinking black men. Thinking black men, where the predominant thing is not how good they look, or how muscular they are, how well they dress, but that they're active thinkers. You know, the thinking black men, and I propose that this, like the active creation of a culture. Now, this is how you do it. Now, already communities are already being formed by these outliers, these thinking black men. I mean, you see it on YouTube. You see it with the Idmore brothers. You see it with the EBM brothers, RPB brothers, the SYSBM brothers. You see it there. It's already forming. It's not nothing new. Even everyday brothers that my brother Obsidian represents. You see it because, as a person, one of my commenters pointed out on one of my videos, I get a lot of very great comments. I mean, yeah, I get some basic comments, but I get like some people like writing some like major books, like breaking down some stuff, and I'm like, damn. And see, what has to happen is, all these brothers who have a feeling of being outliers, they have a feeling of being shunned, of being rejected by not just women in the black community, but by their own families because they're quote unquote smart. My thing is come together. Come together and first form communities. And I mean, this can be done. Because even on YouTube videos, those eventually develop into communities when you have people, they start interacting with each other. It can be done on message boards. In real life, just reach out to like-minded souls. That's all you have to do. You want to just reach out to like-minded souls. Start networking. That's the first thing. You create the community. You create the culture. And then you create cultural values that represent who you are as a thinking black man. I mean, what do you value? I know me. Well, let me back up a bit. I remember years ago I used to have a book stand, and it was interesting because the way I arranged my books on this book stand, I had the nonfiction bubblegum, the fiction bubblegum type of books, like the Zane and all of that on one side of my table, right? And then on the other side, I had like the deep thinking books. And it was interesting to sit back and watch who would buy what. Like mostly women would buy the bubblegum stuff. Mostly men would buy the deep fiction. I mean the deep nonfiction. The thinking books. Heck, I even had some straight up thugs buy some of the thinking books. And and that's a value. That's a value. Thinking brothers want to know. They want information. It's like you can have that as a value. You can have a value of like an aesthetic value. Like most thinking brothers do not wear their pants off their ass. You get a lot of women who come with negative comments on some of these YouTube videos, and the first thing they saying is, stop wearing your pants off your ass. But most of the men who are commenting on these videos, even watching these videos, don't do that. So that's a value, the aesthetic value. Maybe a certain look, maybe a certain intellectual look. We all have a feeling of what looks intellectual and what looks I ain't gonna say non-intellectual, but more I don't know, more cool. That quote unquote cool look. That could be a value. You can create a value. See, because once the brothers start networking together, start developing community, start bouncing stuff off each other, what happens is you creating a sense of shared values, through that community, and you creating also you start creating like visible markers of what marks you in that community, because maybe the brothers decide, okay, well, we're gonna all have a certain look. There's gonna be a certain thing that sets us apart, and then from there, when you talk about a community, that's when you can actually create economics based on that. You see, here's the thing people don't understand about economics. Economics is a social thing. It's not about money. Everybody got all these definitions, but when you get down to it, it's about how people interact with each other socially and what they spend their money on. If you look at any strong economic group, the thing that makes them strong is that they spend money with each other. That's based on a social relationship. That's not a business thing. You get for example, you never see a Chinese person or an Asian person eating at a soul food restaurant unless they own it. And they'll tell you that. They want you get different groups. They'll come to this country. They will not support a business that does not represent their culture. And see, that could be the same thing for the thinking black man as we build a culture. You create businesses to that. Like like I was talking about the fiction thing. There's a market right there for nonfiction books. And even fiction books, if they the type that's going to challenge a man's thinking and make him think. There's a big market there. There's a market there for entertainment that represents us. Now think about it, there's a lot of potential. Like I watch different web series, right? And there's a market there to present not that like image that's usually presented of a black man, because most of them are romantic, so they present an image of Mr. Goodbar in one way or the other. But there's an opening to present a more intelligent man. Now imagine when people talk about the black nerd or something like that, they usually use Carlton from the Fresh Prince or Steve Urkel. So what if somebody create a storyline where you have that type of character, but they come out as the hero? Where you use positive propaganda. There was a story told about the Chinese Revolution under Mao. Now, supposedly Mao gathered together, before they really got started, gathered together a bunch of writers and artists just to create a certain mythology, a certain mindset. And see, the thinking black man, one of the things we want to do that, and that could be an economic gain. It's you have a lot of us who are into computers, computer games, quite a few into STEM. You can create things that represent that. And well, I'll do another video when we want to get into relationships. But the bottom line is that it's not necessary to leave the black community. It's just create another community within the black community. You know, you basically creating a sanctuary in a way. You creating a safe space because basically that's what other groups do. Because like I said, I've studied a lot of subcultures. There's some subcultures, especially some spiritual ones. There's people the average person don't know about. You know, I remember I was talking with one gentleman who was a influential figure in one subculture in this country. Well, I'm not going to name them because they get kind of funky. If you never see their name in like on videos, nobody hardly talks about them, anything. So I'm kind of leaving there. And please don't ask about them on in the comments or anything. I keep it. I'll just say it's a religious type of subculture. Um, and but this influential figure within that in that culture, he just said, "Hey, you know what? We loyal to each other." And they're not worried about what the rest of the black community is doing. See, one thing with the thinking black man, you can't get caught up. You can't get caught up too much into what everybody else is doing. What you have to do is one, always working on yourself, be the best you can be, live your purpose, and then reach out to like-minded men. And that's how you start to create the community. Stop trying to cleave to stuff that's not there for you. And a lot of people already do that subconsciously. A lot of people do that, but it's time. But see, part of the problem with the thinking black man is that many people are gravitating towards us to solve some shit. You know, they want that dude that was the black nerd who, like, you know, ends up making six figures and stuff. You know, you got other family members who were trifling. They want him to save everything. You know, that happens a lot. You know, that dude, he worked hard, did everything, probably got teased and stuff, or, you know, quote unquote talking white and being into some different things. And then, you know, as soon as they get in trouble, they need his help. And, you know, because of family ties, we do it. But, well, it's time to let them go and reach out to like-minded men to build. See, here's the thing. And I say like-minded men. Because the foundation of any culture is really a man, not the women. Women just maintain a culture. Men, we create the cultural systems. Men. Women maintain it. That's what they do. And I ain't saying that to be sexist. I challenge, if you look at most systems in the world, most cultural philosophical systems, they created by men. So what I'm challenging the thinking black man to do is just reach out to others. Start networking. Start talking to some brothers. Start thinking about which I can come up with. Like I said, this has already happened with some groups on a small scale, but we need to like stretch it out some more. So, and I would say that's part one. I'm gonna make a part two, and that part two is gonna be like dealing with women, because let's be real, a lot of the issues with me even being called an educated lame or nerd comes from women. But it's as part of a growing culture, as part of a growing community, we have to put our foot down and establish how we're going to deal with women. So that'll be the next video. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Peace.